What if I told you that getting old might be optional? I'm serious. What if the diseases, the aches, the decline we all associate with aging wasn't a fact of life, but just a problem we haven't solved yet? Well, we're going to dive into that because according to Harvard professor Dr. David Sinclair, we are on the cusp of a revolution that could completely change what it means to be human.
I mean, that quote right there, it just turns everything we've been taught about getting older completely on its head. For, all of human history, we've just accepted that we get frail and things break down. But Dr. Sinclair is asking, why? Why is that acceptable? What if it's something we can actually fight?
So, okay, if the old story is wrong, what's really going on inside our bodies as we rack up the birthdays? Answering that question, that is the absolute key to unlocking the science of turning back the clock. So let's get into a radical new way of thinking about this. To figure out how we might reverse aging, we first have to understand what causes it in the first place. Dr. Sinclair's big idea is called the information theory of aging, but honestly, a much better way to think about it is what he calls the scratched record theory.
For decades, the old theory was that our bodies are like a car, just hardware. The parts get old, they rust, they wear out. But this new theory? It's way more hopeful. It says our body is less like hardware and more like a computer running software. The original code is almost perfect, but over time, the program gets buggy and corrupted. And hey, if it's just corrupted software, well, maybe we can reinstall the original program.
So here's the star of the show, the epigenome. If your DNA is the computer's hardware, the epigenome is the operating system. It's this incredibly complex layer of instructions that sits on top of your DNA and tells your cells how to be cells. It's the reason a brain cell acts like a brain cell and not a liver cell, even though they have the exact same DNA. And this is where that scratched record idea really clicks. Think of your DNA as the music on a brand new vinyl record. That music, the song, is pristine. It's a perfect copy. But the epigenome, that's the surface of the record itself. And as we go through life, it gets scratched from sun damage, from stress, just from living. The needle starts to skip, and suddenly the beautiful music of your youth can't be played properly anymore. So here's the big takeaway. Aging isn't your genes falling apart. It's your cells forgetting how to read the genes. They lose their instructions. They get confused. You can think of it as a citywide identity crisis where skin cells kind of forget how to be good skin cells, and nerve cells forget how to be good nerve cells. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like a really cool theory, but is it just that, a theory? Nope, not at all. In Dr. Sinclair's lab, they're already putting this to the test. They're figuring out how to polish the scratches off the record. Let me show you how.
Okay, you have to hear this. It's incredible. Scientists took old, blind mice. They had damaged optic nerves, the kind of damage that happens with age. They injected a special cocktail of 3 genes that can basically tell a cell to become young again, right into the eye. They turned those genes on for a few weeks, and the results were just wow. The nerve cells rebooted. They remembered how to be young, healthy nerve cells, and the mice could see again. And get this, it's not like they got a little bit better. When they measured the biological age of those cells, they had reset by about 75%. Let that sink in for a second. That's like taking the cells of an 80-year-old and making them function like a 20-year-old's. It's not just repair, it's a full-on factory reset. And this isn't some far-off science fiction thing. This isn't just for mice. They've already replicated it in monkeys. And now, the very first human trials using this exact technology to cure age-related blindness are starting. This is happening right now. The implications here are just massive. You see, the thinking is that things like Alzheimer's, heart disease, even some cancers, they're not separate problems to be solved one by one. They're all symptoms of the real underlying problem, which is aging itself. So if you treat aging, if you polish that record, the body's natural defenses come back online, and those diseases, they just start to go away. All right, so while we're waiting for these amazing age reversal therapies to become available, the really good news is we're not helpless. Not at all. This new science gives us a really clear playbook of things we can do today to slow down the rate at which our own record gets scratched. So what causes those scratches in the first place? Well, it's pretty much anything that causes DNA damage and forces your cells to go into panic repair mode. Every time your DNA has a break, the epigenome has to kind of get messy to fix it, and it doesn't always go back perfectly. So yeah, the obvious stuff, like smoking, too much booze, but also things you might not think about, like getting a lot of X-rays, or even cosmic rays from flying a lot.
Now, if you take one thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. Your genes, they are not your destiny. Not even close. Science shows that how you live your life, your choices, your habits, that accounts for 80 to 90% of your health and how fast you age. You are in the driver's seat.
So what works? Well, a major Harvard study tracked people for decades and found 5 key habits that can add more than 10 healthy, disease-free years to your life. And it's not rocket science, right? Don't smoke, limit alcohol, eat a decent diet, get some exercise, and this one's interesting, having reliable social connections, like a partner, which lowers the chronic stress that literally scratches your epigenome. So the things we can do personally are super powerful. But let's zoom out, because the breakthroughs we're seeing in the lab, they're pointing to a future that's almost hard to wrap your head around. A world where our relationship with aging and time is fundamentally rewritten. Let me ask you a question. Would you trade places right now with a 90-year-old billionaire? Most people, without even hesitating, say no. And that little thought experiment proves we all instinctively know that youth and health, they're worth more than all the money in the world. And that is the prize these scientists are now chasing. And the pace here is just picking up like crazy. I mean, today we're doing this in mice and monkeys. In the very near future, we're talking about human trials for specific diseases. But in the next 10 or 20 years, we could be looking at pills or simple therapies that can reset the age of your entire body. We might seriously look back at our current medicine as being completely medieval. And that leaves us with this final, massive question. If we can actually slow, stop, and even reverse aging, if getting old becomes a treatable condition instead of just something that happens to us, what does that mean for human life? What does it mean for careers, for relationships, for having kids, for our whole purpose? It's not science fiction anymore, and it's something we all need to start thinking about.